What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. We had a bunch of roster news hit the timeline the last couple of days. I know we've been slowly kind of recapping on this channel, but I want to do kind of a bulk video and kind of recap initial thoughts on 4 different teams that we finally got clarity on. Cloud9, the Vancouver Surge, the Carolina Royal Ravens, and the rumored Gentlemates team. So let's dive in. We're going to start with C9. He's starting to fall into place, and I actually think some of these teams are pretty well constructed, so let's dive in. So look, I want to be clear about like kind of where we're at in the CDL, because I just, I don't want to pull Patrick Price. I don't want to come in and just say this team sucks, they're not going to be relevant, they're not going to win championships, and to just not really like understand the situation that we're in. To me, like the way I see the CDL right now, you've got 3 super teams: FaZe, Optic, and Thieves. Obviously, as I'm time recording this video, the LA Thieves roster announced was about an hour or so ago. And that kind of leaves a pretty wide open 4th spot on Sundays, because I expect FaZe, Optic, and Thieves, barring epic collapses at events, to kind of be 3 of the 4 teams that will play on Sunday. So your Minnesotas, your Miamis of the world, Cloud9, Vancouver, Gentlemates. Like, these are all squads that can theoretically get into that 4th spot, and you make it to a Sunday, you get hot, you never know what happens. I think this year, and with some of these rosters being built, I think the middle pack of squads, look, I don't know if the top 3 teams are going to lose to those squads quite often, but I think the middle pack is a little bit better this year than I thought last year roster construction wise. All right, so first up, we got C9. C9 are looking to favor Sib over the duo of Skies and Kismet. Roster will most likely be attached Sib, Kremp, and Nero. Jacob Hale adds some color here that obviously this could change as Gentlemates come to an agreement to sign Kismet and Skies. So those 2 moves are kind of all tied together. We'll get to Gentlemates in a second, but let's assume going forward that this squad is the one that's going to run it. Let's do kind of a role eval here. All of the roles kind of make a lot of sense, right? So you've got Attach running the main AR, a role that Dylan's been very comfortable with, and playing in a fast flex player in Dante, who is going to really just kind of play his game, be aggressive, be consistent at respawn. We'll get to the S&D thoughts in a second, but as an AR backline duo, and even if Dante's got to run a sub, this is a pretty good squad. Now, the sub duo here is pretty interesting. I don't hate it because Kremp, obviously coming off a final appearance at LA Thieves. I thought Nero had a pretty good respawn season for Vegas. These 2 have teamed together before, most recently on Boston during the Modern Warfare 2 season. And obviously that Boston team, we've been clear about our thoughts during that year. But as far as available sub duo from like who was out there talent-wise, and with Toronto probably being like the number 1-ish destination, I think it's a pretty good sub duo. But the thing is, when you look at this whole team, I see a very good hardpoint team. We don't know who's going to coach this team yet. There are rumors that Accuracy will be the coach. If that pans true, I think concept-wise, they're going to be very, very good. Control, I think they'll be solid. I'm just very concerned about search and destroy with this team. Attach, not really an S&D shot caller. Dante, not really an S&D shot caller. Kremp, not really. You see where I'm going with it. So I as much as I think this team will be really good in respawn, these aren't terrible S&D players. I just think as a team search type of squad, I just think it's going to be like Vegas last year, man. They're going to find ways to unclutch situations. They're going to find a way to throw away rounds. And I see it as a squad that can definitely, if they kind of get it all together, have the talent to make a deep run in the tournament. I think more likely or not, this is going to be kind of a top 6, top 8 team that kind of flirts with that 4th squad. And they just kind of have too many self-inflicted wounds to really realize their potential as a squad. Hopefully I'm wrong, but that's kind of my mark on where I see with them. But talent-wise, it's a pretty good roster. All right, so let's talk about Gentlemates. Obviously, some weird roster movement between the 2 squads. But by movement, I mean Gentlemates picking up players because they had no one on the roster other than their challenger squad they had at EWC. So I think we'll get more clarity with time, like why C9 isn't building around Skies and Kismet. But anyway, right now, it looks like Gentlemates is the following team: Skies, Priesta, Kismet, and Linz. So again, just like with a lot of these teams, the roles make sense. Caesar, main AR, Preston in that flex spot, Kiz as kind of the support sub, and Linz is really that fast, aggressive sub. Roles make sense. The key problem with this team, because I think as far as game IQ, as far as search and destroy play, like concepts wise, especially with Mark and Derail's coach, I think this team is going to progress well. The big issue with this team is going to be consistency. Priesta, not a consistent player. Kismet, not a consistent player. Linz, great start to the season, poor end of the season. Skies, up and down last year, generally years before has been more consistent. I just think this team online is going to struggle. On LAN, they're going to surprise people, and that is going to be their MO all year. Is a team that is going to get a bunch of really weird top 6s and potentially some top 4s and surprise people, but online, like barely go 500, I think, and get upset a bunch by bottom teams that are just going to come out hotter on the day. I just don't see how this roster finds slaying consistency day to day as they're built. Then I don't want to call it a friendship cheese roster because I see the concept of what they're going for here, but I just think that the inconsistency, if it doesn't result in them proving themselves on land, this might be a team that makes a pretty early roster change here, likely for one of Priesta or Kismet. But I like the concept of what Gentlemates is doing here. Some people say friendship cheese. Again, I see it. But I think there's a real obvious limitation here to the roster. All right, we keep moving. Carolina Royal Ravens. This is an interesting squad. I don't know how I feel about this one yet. Most likely roster right now for Carolina is Slasher Main AR, Mac in a flex spot, Gwyn TJ subs. So again, recurring theme here, roles perfect. Nobody is in a weird spot where they shouldn't excel role wise. I got a couple of thoughts about this roster. One is hard point wise, I actually think this team could be very good if Mac realizes the potential that we've seen from him in the flex spot. S&D, this could be also a very good S&D team. These are S&D grinders. He just had back-to-back great S&D seasons. Austin, generally a pretty good search player. Mac was on that difficult Seattle team, but like when he was on New York, he was a good search player. And Gwyn's been up and down the game mode, but we saw him hard carry his team to a victory in the game mode last year. My one concern with this team, not a good control roster. I think this Carolina team could have a similar problem to last year's Carolina team. They could go up 2-0 in the series, not be a good control team, and get reverse swept. So going to be looking early to see if this Carolina team is going to be solid in control. And to be honest, I'm likely going to be fading them a bunch in the game mode early as far as betting, money lines, player props, all of that. I just don't really see with kind of how these players have played in the past in the game mode, how they're going to be a cohesive unit in the game mode. But obviously weird things could happen. I see that as their biggest limitation. There's a lot of potential for this to be a top 4 squad. I think purely on work ethic and just sort of the cohesion here. I like Mac with this group of players and kind of mindset wise, if Mac is engaged. But obviously if you are on Austin's team and you are not locked in, he's going to let you know. So I don't know who's going to coach this team. I see Brian Saints coming back. Could be a fun squad to watch, but I'm a little concerned about their control. All right, last roster we're going to talk about, the Vancouver Surge. I probably should have talked about this one a couple of days ago. That's on me. We got a Booza, Main AR, Nasty on the flex, 0-4 as a sub, and considering it looks like Kremp is going to C9, Charlie Hixley as the other sub player. I see the concept of what they're going for here, right? Assuming as a Rambo Ray-led coach, is a team that I think can play pretty cohesively together. They're going to take map control together and use, kind of force trades and play the numbers game in a lot of situations. And obviously that's a very good early strat because once you get kind of later into sort of the game and the season, you start to see that people spread the map more. They know the timings. So I think concept wise, like I see that this is a very good squad that can figure out how to master the game early. The problem with this team is Charlie Hixley, not the greatest respawn slayer of all time. 0-4, not the greatest respawn player of all time because he's new to respawn. Nasty, pretty average player, can be kind of inconsistent. This is like a similar problem to Gentlemates. I think online, likely going to be sort of very up and down. At events, could be good. I am a little concerned though that this doesn't really seem like a team that has that dog in them. Maybe kind of a tough criticism out of me, but I look at this group of 4 players and like who is going to step up and like really lead this squad and make them overperform. I think like the last Vancouver team was very interesting, but they really kind of hit their top 6 ceiling like pretty consistently. This one could probably do it too. I think the middle pack has gotten a little bit harder, and unfortunately I can see a world where this Vancouver team makes a very early roster change because just like their past team, they just really struggle with consistent slaying and just get blown off the map. But across all 3 game modes, this could be a very interesting squad, and I think the key player to watch here is 0-4, because if 0-4 improves, he's a more consistent respawn player, continues to be a takeover player in search, they could be very good and they could get the 4th spot. But if it's where they are at now as players, there's a real lack of slaying with the sub duo. AR duo, not that bad. I actually really rate Nasty. It just seems like too passive of a squad, and I think they can get kind of bowled over by some of these new teams. So again, look, the summary of this video is the sentence I've highlighted on your screen. I think all 4 of these teams are solid. I think they all have definite paths to being the 4th best team. I all think that all of them have definitive, I wouldn't say obvious weaknesses, but very like weaknesses that I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome or fix. So I think we have a very interesting spot, and we'll get more clarity on what Minnesota looks like, for example, Miami, what is this group of 5 or 6 or 7 teams look like fighting for their 4th spot, and who might be kind of my favorite. Right now, if I had to pick one, It's probably still that Toronto squad, but I'm curious what you guys think in the comments. Of all the teams I talked about today and all of the other rumored teams that are not phase out the Thieves, who do you think will be the fourth best team? Let me know in the comments. As always, guys, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and we will see you on the next one.